What's going on, Game of Thrones fans? We just finished up watching Season 6, Episode 5, The Door of Game of Thrones, and a lot of major points happened in this episode. I just want to throw out there, I had no intention of making a video tonight, so it's 10 after 11, I just set this up to start filming, because after an episode like that, I just feel like that as a Game of Thrones fan or someone who puts any Game of Thrones episodes out there on YouTube, that I definitely owe it to give some explanation or insight to what I think. The part in particular that I'm going to be covering is when we found out, surprisingly, how the White Walkers were created. That was kind of shocking and just thrown in there. Totally unexpected to see that this soon. And this video was basically just for the people out there who do not read the books, and I feel like it's a little unfair to them that there's some backstory the show never did a great job of covering, that I hear questions constantly. My phone's been blowing up since the episode ended. I'm not going to do like major book spoilers or anything like that, but I will just keep a couple vague points to try to help people understand, like kind of simplify. Like, for example, everyone's like, well, who are these little people in the tree? Who are the little people that stabbed the person to turn him into the White Walker? And I'm just going to kind of explain that the way I like to simplify it when I have a conversation with my friends about it, and just pass that knowledge along to you guys so you'll have a little insight as to what's going on. Don't mind the bandage on my face. I was going for a Nelly look this week, and yeah, so, but don't judge me. But anyway, as for the episode as a whole, once I seen the scene I was talking about, I was contemplating I'm definitely going to make this video, and I was all happy and ready to do it, and then the rest of the episode just turned into a turbulent, emotional hurricane. And if you didn't watch the show, spoilers, obviously, turn it off now. And just say they really need to stop killing the wolves, like, immediately. And it was just hard to watch what happened at the end. Even the conversation with Khaleesi and Jorah, that was tough. It was a tough episode to swallow. A lot went on. I'm hoping that maybe Bran's wolf technically isn't dead, even though it kind of seemed impossible. Maybe he'll turn into a White Walker wolf, and then one day Bran will see him again and walk into him, and we'll have like a super White Walker wolf. I mean, a man could dream, right? But anyway, to the point, I said this is going to be a quick video. I just wanted to explain this to people. This is going to be more like about the backstory from before the show. This information you find in tidbits throughout the A Song of Ice and Fire series, but to really get the full effect, you would need to read The World of Ice and Fire. This is like an encyclopedia to all the backstory and histories of what you guys know as the Game of Thrones universe. I said I'm putting this together, not scripted, without preparation, so you're just going to have to bear with me on what I say. I'm not getting to fact check myself, but what I'm going with, it should all be pretty accurate. So, just to begin, we've seen the children of the forest gathered around a great weirwood tree where they impaled an individual with some type of item, relic. I don't really know what that was. I will look further into that. I will rewatch the episode and see what I can make of exactly what that item was. And through this sacrifice, you could call it a use of blood magic, they turned this individual into the first White Walker. Also, where this scene took place was a summery looking land, and then later on, when they came back to it in the episode, it was in winter. So, leads me to believe that this area could be in what's known as the Lands of Always Winter. That is just where it's an uncharted northern realm, way north of the Wall. The wildlings don't even go up there. Most likely where Bran is right now is somewhere close. We did get a sneak peek at it at the end of like Season 3, the one where you see Craster's kid get turned into the White Walker. I'm curious if that's the same area nowadays or something along those lines. But who are the children of the forest? What are they? So here's just a little backstory on Game of Thrones. How I explain it to my friends, George R.R. Martin, it seems he likes to take a lot of his backstory and writing from events in real life, and even the geography. So if you look at the world of A Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones, the whole show basically focuses on what's known as Westeros. It's a continent. It goes north to south, like right here. Then there's a big ocean, some parts narrower, narrow sea, and then there's another huge continent that goes all the way east. I like to explain to people that's kind of like look at the western hemisphere and eastern hemisphere of our own planet. Like look at Westeros kind of like North America, And where Khaleesi is, over on the other side on Essos, that's your Europe and all further east out to Asia and the Middle East, so on and so forth. So now, the Game of Thrones show takes place in, it's like 297 or the 300th year after, let's call it, Westeros, North America, was conquered and brought all under the kingdom of Aegon Targaryen. This is way before that, where this goes back to. Let's say about 8 to 10,000 years ago. They don't even know for sure. Their histories are speculated and wrote by the Maesters over history, and that's where all the characters get their knowledge from. On the continent of Westeros, there were what was known as, it was only occupied by the Children of the Forest, which are those little guys with the green eyes that we've been seeing this season. And also the Giants. The Giants are a lot less talked about and were mysterious and mainly dwelled much further north, but basically, the whole continent, from the farthest north to the most southern tip, was inhabited by the Children of the Forest. Over on the eastern continent, like the European whatever area, was a bunch of different civilizations. They all have names, Gascari, Yiddish, Roin. There's a ton. You'd have, like I said, you'd have to read the book to get the full effect, but I'm not going to explain all the little details. Now, there was two major wars, basically, that took place involving the Children of the Forest. The first was the coming of the first men. That's when a civilization from the eastern continent crossed over to the southern tip of Westeros, and they started to settle the lands. Later on down the timeline, there would be a second war, when what's known as the Andals, King of the Andals and the First Men. It's in the titles of Joffrey or any of the kings of Westeros. The Andals come over, and there's another war. So, I don't want to confuse you, so let's just say the First Men come over. They're trying to inhabit the land. They get into a war with the Children of the Forest. They fight, they war, they cut down the weirwood trees. The battle's lasting, I think, hundreds of years. It could be speculated. Sooner or later, they're sick of all the fighting and dying, and they form a pact. The First Men agree not to no longer cut down their trees of holy worship, and they settle from basically where the wall is, more south, and the Children of the Forest stay more north. The First Men, later on down the timeline, the Andals come over. Now this I like to put in perspective in real life. Let's say the First Men came over. Let's say the Children of the First Men are like the Native Americans. They're the Native Americans in North America. Then, before Columbus, let's say Vikings, First Men, were the first to find, like I say, I don't even know if my real history is correct in real life events, but just bear with me. Usually it helps people understand it. So the Vikings come over and they start settling the land, and they war, and then they make a peace pact. Later on down the line, the Andals come over. The Andals, I like to tell people, is like Columbus. It was the Europeans, the more civilized. They had armor, and they had structure and organization. They came over. They had very different features from the First Men. The First Men, after the war with the Andals, stayed in the north. The Andals stayed in the south. The Children of the Forest were basically completely eliminated by then, and they're supposed to be a myth by now and exist way north of the wall, as we could see when Bran stumbled upon them. Now let's talk a little bit about features. The First Men have more stark features. They're more, I guess, like gaunt, brunt men, more that shaggy, darker hair, that kind of a look. More, like you said, look at the Starks. The Andals were more of the, I guess, more like leaner, blonde hair, light brown. That's their kind of look, and they're also the ones who brought over the religion, the seven-pointed star, where they believe in the seven. And when you look at Game of Thrones world today, that's why Ned Stark and the people in the North still believe in the old gods. Those were the gods of the First Men after they made a pact with the Children of the Forest. They worshiped the same gods, but the Andals never fully being able to defeat the First Men. They never were able to take the lands that far north, stayed south, and that's where the looks of everyone in the south, the Lannisters, the Tyrells, they get their looks. And that's just mainly the gist of it. So, but the thing is now, what I'm really curious, and I would really like to see a discussion, or maybe people educate me a little bit, is the war with the First Men and the Children of the Forest, right? That's what it seems in the show when you've seen the Children of the Forest turn the person against the weirwood tree, and they said that when Bran woke up, said, "You started this. What did you do?" And they said they were trying to save themselves. They were outmatched. They're small. They had their tricks. They worked in trees, no metals, in obsidian, dragon glass. You know, maybe if you put it on the tip of a spear, it could kill a White Walker if someone threw it at them. Which I believe is how Mira took out that White Walker in this episode. Not 100% positive. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I actually do think that Sam Tarly gave Mira that obsidian that he had from when he was on the ranging north on the wall, but it's besides the point. So when the Children of the Forest lady is explaining to Bran, she says it was out of protection. She was trying to save them, their holy trees, and protect themselves from Bran, from people. But here's where it gets a little bit tricky. So in the books, or you could read in the history, after the first men had their pact with the Children of the Forest, the next chapter in the encyclopedia shows the Long Night. That would be the fight against the White Walkers. The one that happened years ago, where the Red Priest is, and everyone always talks about their version of the hero of the night, and blah, blah, blah. And that was also about 8,000 years ago. So it would make sense that during this battle, the Children of the Forest, in the last-ditch attempt, made the White Walkers, and then realizing the White Walkers were uncontrollable, they got together and figured out a way to beat them back. Once the Long Night had ended, then in the book, the following chapter is the battle with the Andals. Then the Andals come over. That was around at the time that Valyria was rising up. But what I find odd was George R. R. Martin. He is big with his features. That the individual who was killed against that tree did not look anything what you would think someone who has blood of the first men in them look like. That was clearly bright-eyed, blue-eyed, blonde hair. Looked like an Andal to me. So could the histories be a little mixed up? Were the Andals, was the Children of the Forest and the First Men already had their pact, and it was in the battle against the Andals that this occurred, and maybe the timeline's a little off? I don't know. I'd really like to see what your guys' opinion is on that, because I can't for the life of me think that how that person had that appearance. And it's just the whole episode, even with everything that went on, it was bugging me in the back of my mind. Could it have been someone from another lineage? Maybe a Targaryen, because in the shows, you know, they don't have their silver hair. They're blonde, a Lannister, or was it just a coincidence that they didn't follow the correct attributes of someone of first blood identical to the book? I don't know, but I'd really like to see some theories focused on that point. And lastly, before I get out of here, I wanted to bring up one point. If you notice, there's a lot of symbolism from the first episode, when they first find the dead bodies that the White Walkers left, they had the bodies arranged in a symbol, right? Later on, after the Night's Watch gets slaughtered by the Whites or the White Walkers, we don't see the battle on screen. It does happen in detail in the book. They stumble across the remains of that battle. And I will zoom it in at the end, because it's probably going to be a little not clear right now. But they have all of the dead bodies of the horses of the Night's Watch set into this spiral position. Like I said, I'll definitely bring the camera in closer. All the horses are in a spiral. I really don't know what it means, but in this episode, when you've seen the Children of the Forest make their sacrifice, the weirwood tree had the same, it's like cylindrical spiral out effect going on of these stones that went out, it literally almost identical, especially when you got an overhead view, and they showed an overhead view of it, especially when they came back to it later when it was in the snow and Bran was looking at the area for the second time. So I'm real curious as to what that symbol is. They obviously did some type of blood magic to make the White Walkers involving that symbolism, and then the White Walkers themselves seem to practice using that same symbol. I'm wondering, can this symbol hold a greater meaning, or something, maybe some type of sacrifice or something is going to be needed, or this symbol will be needed to destroy the White Walkers or push them back? Who knows? And, like I said, because I wasn't prepared for this, so I'm kind of all over the place, out of order. Back to the first men with the attributes of the person killed on the tree. A lot of people, even myself, speculated that the first White Walker was from northern lineage, most likely Stark. And clearly, none of the northern families look like that. That guy, there was no way that was a Stark. And to end it all, I wonder if something has to take place in this same area that the White Walkers returned, where you seen by the tree, because obviously when Bran seen it in snow, that was years later, and they were still in that area. Is that like a home to them, this area with these spiral symbols? And is that why they make the symbols further south? Is it somewhere maybe it gives them power? And when Craster's child was turned into a White Walker, was that also the same spot, but just even further out in down, the timeline of history to nowadays? I'm really curious to find out. I will be looking into this a lot more deeper. As for the rest of the episode, I'm not doing like a review on the whole episode. There's plenty of great people out there on YouTube that do excellent reviews, hit the nail on the head. But I just wanted to try to simplify that whole what the Children of the Forest are and just a little bit of the Game of Thrones history and put it in perspective for you guys. And I will be thoroughly reading into people's theories, thoughts, and ideas, and see if anything rings a bell with anything I've read or seen, and maybe I can figure some shit out and bring it back to you guys. So please, in the comments below, let me know what you think. What did you think of this scene? Were you surprised how the White Walkers were created? Did you speculate this? What do you think about this first person who changed? Who were they? Where did they come from? I don't know. Maybe we'll see Hodor come back too as a White. And maybe Bran can use him too and have his army of Warg, Summer, the Wolf, and Hodor. I'm going to miss them too. And if I must say, let me just add in at the end too. That was, by the way, what a way to go out by Summer. I understand he was buying them more time, but realistically looking at the scene, the Whites seemed to be about 40 feet away. He couldn't have bought them more than a nanosecond of time. He would have been better out running out with Bran to protect him. I just think of 100 other ways that could have went down. I just breaks my heart. But anyways, like I said, comment below, like, subscribe. I'll keep you guys updated with Game of Thrones shit as it comes along the way. That's it. Until next time, Tman out.